Micro front ends. So, in a micro front end architecture, nobody really talks about the crazy aspects that have to deal with operationalizing a micro front end architecture. In my previous videos, I've talked about building micro front ends and how and why you should adopt them, but I haven't really talked about deploying them. What does it mean to go in and build a micro front end architecture and build it in a way that you can manage it, right? So, as an example, in a monolithic application, you've got a single set of build pipelines, maybe validation procedures, and you're releasing maybe like a single artifact out there. But in a micro front end framework or architecture, you've got many applications, right? Many build pipelines, versioning, validation procedures, sharing of dependencies, the version management of the modules, the version management of the dependencies. Like, how do I test multiple applications? And if you've worked in a microservice environment, like that gets a little crazy in local development unless you build some tooling or really, take that kind of mindset in at the very beginning and make it so teams can kind of run things in isolation. But inevitably, you have to do integration tests. And on the front end, in micro front ends, it can be difficult, right? To do that actual testing, the integration part. How do my consumers work with these changes, right? And as a consumer, how do I know that I'm validating my product, right? So again, sounds like insanity, right? Well, Zephyr Cloud is a cloud agnostic, framework agnostic platform for not only doing local development with sub-second deployments, but being able to actually manage micro front ends and module federation. So it's currently in beta right now, but it looks very promising. There's a number of different features. As I mentioned, auto deploy on build. This is huge, right? So as you spin up a new micro front end, you have to go build new build pipelines, testing, validation pipelines, and a lot of these things can take some time and effort, right? If you have a DevOps team, you're fitting within their schedule. You're coordinating. You're doing all these changes every time you stand up a new piece to your micro front end architecture. Well, if you have to manage dependencies as well in micro front ends, now there's an extra piece to the equation, right? So knowing kind of what is out there, right? What versions of, I don't know, React or React Query or any kind of dependency that you might be sharing, what does that look like across my micro front ends, right? Live preview links in seconds. This is a pretty big one. Being able to build locally, so auto deploy on build, and getting a preview link that I can send to someone in my team, or a link that I can provide to another team that's maybe consuming my module. Hey, test this out, validate with this version, let us know. um, Version rollback and roll forward. So managing the version of that module, right? So if I have a module that's out there, what version is active, right? How do I control that? And that is challenging, right? You have to have a lot of you have to have infrastructure built around it, configuration, platforms, services, somebody, owning those versions. There's a lot of management when it comes to the different micro front ends and just a whole other just kind of suite of different benefits. And being in beta, it's definitely very promising. And just seeing, right now they have Cloudflare and Netlify support, but the future promise of this, bring your own cloud, right? So being able to take, what your infrastructure is already based on, bringing Zephyr to it and getting all of those benefits is a pretty nice promise. Now, Zephyr's got a lot of documentation out there. Right now, they've got a number of different recipes for Vite, React, Webpack, RSPack, NX, a lot of different configurations. Their Chrome extension, and I'll demo some of this as well. And I have a really nice kind of testing repo here to walk you through, and I'll put all these links in the description of the video. Um, they talk about environments and tagging and all the different ways like today in beta that you can go and configure your deployments, which is already pretty cool. I mean, if you have to build this all manually, this is a pretty big undertaking. It's a lot of effort, and there are, I would say, no comparisons with being able to deploy instantly right from your build. So let's take a look at this. I already have a repo that's set up here, so I'll kind of walk through what it looks like, how it works. So in my repo here, I've got a NX monorepo. I've got two applications, a host application, which is consuming a hero application. This is my remote. I've got a packages folder here, and I've got two different npm packages that are running in here, and we'll walk through kind of the technology, how everything's set up. But let's kind of hone in here on the host. So in the host application, I'm using rspack, so I've got an rspack config, and to install Zephyr, basically I have to install the Zephyr Webpack plugin that you can see here. So I go in, I add that to my package JSON. I install it in my mono repo, and now I can go into my rspack configuration. And in my rspack configuration, I've got with Zephyr here, and I've got the plugin just inside of NX's Compose plugin. So this is just very NX specific. If you're not familiar with NX, this is a very NX centric piece of convention here. And with Zephyr is literally all you need, right? So there is no other configuration. It's just literally, this is a copy of their documentation. And now that it's configured, I can come down here, and I'm already logged in because I have a beta account. So I plan to kind of walk through that. And I'm going to run pnpm start. And this is just my command to run my hero application and my host application. And I'm also running my components package in watch mode. So there's three different things running here. And I'm going to just kind of scroll up here and look through some of the terminal output. And I see Zephyr already logging here. And what's really cool is, and I'll kind of zoom in here, and this is pretty amazing, but it's deploying my host application, which, albeit it's a very small application, I'm going to show it to you here in a minute. But it's deploying to the edge in 450 milliseconds, which is pretty phenomenal because if I click this link right here and I go and I open this link, I can go right to my application. This is on a public domain, and I can share this application out to a number of different, teams or developers on my team. I can give it to somebody who's consuming the module. Hey, go and test this. And it's just every time I build, so I make a change, I hit save, I get a new version, I get a new URL, and it just kind of keeps, fitting right into your development flow. You're not going out of your way and doing anything extra, which is pretty crazy. Again, I'm going to look at my hero application. This one is pretty small. This one took 1.2 seconds, but it's still incredible. Like if your build's running in 1 second, and most organizations, I would be surprised. But nevertheless, we're going to kind of walk through this here. We're going to make some changes and test it out. So now that I have my application here, just a quick walkthrough. It's kind of an e-commerce like application where you've got a number of different products, and different components on the screen are coming from the remote application. So like the product hero page here at the top is part of that. The products on sale here, you can click on the products and you can see, the different product versions. It's got, product search, a number of different pieces here. And this is to kind of show just a really good example of I've got NX and I want to have some shared components. I want to have micro front ends, and I want to integrate Zephyr into it. So I don't want to change my application. It's fairly complex in the fact that I have an established monorepo and I want to add it. I want to test it out. So I already have the Chrome extension installed here. I can go ahead and I can open Zephyr Mission Control. And what's really cool here is it'll show my application. It'll show the tag for my application. I haven't really changed the tags here, but it's a lot of different use cases for tags. You can have a tag for a developer on your team, or you can have for a tag for an environment, or maybe a release. Lots of different ways you can use the tag feature, which is super nice. But Not going to go in depth here. I'm just going to kind of walk over some of the features. I can see the version of my current application, and I can see the remotes. Now I only have one remote here, but it sees my hero remote. And it'll also show me when I click on it here, all of the different versions that are available right now. So right now, if I click on 1.5 or 1053, I can see that it added this text here onto the product hero. Well, that's a bug. I don't really want to use that. So let's go find a version where that doesn't exist. 5.1 has it. Let's see. 4.8 has it. And okay, here we go. 1046. I'm going to go ahead and I can even, if I wasn't, this is currently deployed, but if it wasn't, I could publish the updates right here. But we're going to walk through the Zephyr UI a little bit and kind of talk about some of the features there and what you can do with it at this stage in its product lifecycle. So already pretty phenomenal, right? So almost a one line change. We're getting live deployments. I can come in here. I can manage the versions of my application. I can click on it. I can see, my changes in real time locally. Well, I shouldn't say locally. This is actually on a deployed application, right? This is maybe simulated in my browser, changing some of these versions, but it is out there and testable. I'm already logged into the Chrome extension here, but not anyone can go in and change it. You do have to log in. So just wanted to highlight that. I'll go into the Zephyr application here. So I'm logged in, I'm under my organization, and I've got a couple of different projects here. Mine is the Zephyr demo. So under Zephyr Demo, so under the project, you can have a number of different applications, right? So you've got your organization, project, application. So I've got my host and my hero remote and some other projects here that I've been testing with. I'm going to go into the hero application, and what's really cool here is you can see right away, I have this exposed module piece, and this is really nice because it will give me an idea of kind of that snapshot of the module federation config and which modules I'm exposing for this remote. I can go into versions here. I can see all of the different versions. You can click on them. You can load the versions. This is my remote doesn't have a fancy page, so it's not the prettiest thing to look at. I can come in here, I can create a tag for it. I can see the versions that are deployed here. So there's a lot here that I can kind of come and see. And this is really nice because I can also use it to look at tags and just kind of see what's going on and what versions are available for that particular remote. I could see this nice UML diagram as well. So again, I have some other apps that I was testing this out with, but I can see the remotes, and I can see my remote, and I can see which modules are on there, and I can click on it, and it'll even show me what it's actually depending on, within that particular project, which is super cool, right? So this visual is very helpful, and when you have lots of remotes with lots of modules and maybe lots of consumers, something like this can really help out quite a bit. I can come in here now. This doesn't really have any consumers in terms like it's not consuming anything, I should say. It's just a remote. I can come in here. I can look at npm dependencies, and this is pretty light because there's really no because I'm using NX and I'm using their single version policy. The app doesn't really have anything in its package JSON, which is cool. And again, I can come in here and I can see the modules. They do have this analytics section here too, and I think this is super interesting. One of the big pieces with even seeing past the remote to remote UML diagram, being able to go and see down at the actual module level, which is pretty cool too. So like as an example, I can see, the product hero directly, right? Which is a exposed module from my remote. So it gets kind of more granular, which is super nice. Um, the dependency graph here too, and this is in beta, so I don't think it's fully, operational yet. But when it comes to the dependencies, things like, React or React Query or, whatever you're sharing, right? Those shared modules can be very difficult long term to actually have a clear picture on, right? Versions change, that sharing configuration is no longer enforced. Maybe you get some weird bugs from it. There could be a lot of different things that you have to watch out for. So I really like that they're kind of heading in that direction of building some type of, dependency visualization and, other features in here that I'm, pretty excited to see. You can come into the settings here. You can create different tags. And again, different ways to kind of group things, which is awesome. It's a huge feature. Um, Environments. So just yet another way to kind of group things. So lots of flexibility there and deployment and rollback, being able to go and basically roll back to a particular version and, doing this all within a centralized place with, access control and, managing it from a nice UI that I can just kind of hop around between applications. So let's go over to my host application. And what's cool here too is I can click over, I can see the remotes here, and it will, in this case, it is consuming something from the Hero remote. So I can see that here. I can go into the versions here and I can see the remote that's deployed. I can see the versions of it. I can switch versions of it. Another way that I could pin my application and how it's configured to leverage those remotes, which is key, right? You don't want to have, here's the latest version, no matter which application is consuming it, right? That wouldn't be good. So, a big emphasis on versioning here. Again, we have the URLs. We can click. We can go out there, and we can kind of see, what's deployed. This one looks a little nicer, but you can go down to the versions here if you want to look at it like that. Again, you can single click deploy, a particular version of it, which is awesome. You have the UML diagram. In this case, it's a little different looking because it's looking from the host and not the remote, which has a lot of dependencies. So again, this was kind of a walkthrough of Zephyr Cloud, and I love the fact that again, in the documentation, you see Vite support. It looked like React Native was coming soon, RS Pack, Webpack, and they're really kind of, driving home that agnostic, right? The cloud agnostic, the framework agnostic portion, which is very challenging, right? As you've kind of, being a developer, you could probably see there's lots of different tooling out there. And being able to have support for existing applications is huge. So I love to see that part. And I really like kind of, what they're doing, right? I love the fact that I can come in here and I can make a change. So I have this 1, 2, 3, 4. I can make a change and it's out there and it's deployed. And it took 480 milliseconds to deploy this application as soon as I built, just like that. So again, Zephyr Cloud, it's in a beta state. It's really interesting to kind of see the direction that they're going. I think there's a huge part in the micro front end architecture that this really helps address. Building these things from scratch, it takes a considerable amount of effort, time, thought, and you have to have gone through it before. And that's one of the things that I really like is they've kind of built on their experience. They've built on what they have done in the past. So they mentioned that the Medusa product was a kind of a first pass at this, and they've come back and really kind of flushed it out and provided that developer experience that you would love to have, right? I mean, being able to have, sub-second deployments and share links with the team is huge, right? You're testing, you're iterating very quickly and you're getting, ultimately more confidence, right? In how you develop and integrate your micro front end architecture. So that's awesome. Anyhow, I hope you liked the video. I definitely hope that you check out Zephyr Cloud. So if you're working with micro front ends, and even if you're not, if you're just interested, or you have a web application and you want to have instantaneous, more or less deployments, Zephyr Cloud's a pretty great fit. No build pipelines, deploy out there, manage your version, all within kind of one realm, and integration with the different cloud providers. It seems like the only sane way to do micro front end. So, anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks.